going to be walking you through how to get Codex set up, and specifically if you are not used to coding, showing you basic setup steps, things like GitHub, setting up a repo, etc., that might become stumbling blocks if you are trying to use Codex. Yesterday, I hopped on a call with the Codex team in San Francisco and asked questions about Codex, got really excited about it. If you missed the news, Codex is the coding model from ChatGPT, from OpenAI. Codex itself has been around for a while, but what they released yesterday is a Mac OS app. It's really good, and I think it's flying under the radar at just how good it is. So they are moving away from a traditional IDE, a development environment, and moving towards something that is more AI focused. It's less traditional, so it is moving away from being able to see all of the code and interface with all of the code directly, but instead talking to the code and building in that way. However, it is still very much a product for developers. So I chatted to their team yesterday and I asked things like, how can we make this a bit easier for people to get on board? Right now, it's a little bit complicated. Something like Lovable or Replit is still much easier to just pick up and to get results, deploy, publish, and get it running faster. So I still recommend Lovable if you are looking for the easiest way to get into AI coding. However, Lovable is, I believe, $25 a month is the cheapest plan. So that is not open for everybody. As a result of this, I've always been looking for cheap ways, or free ways, to get people into AI coding. Up until now, this has primarily been Google's Antigravity. So Antigravity you can download on your Mac or your PC. I think that's correct. Yeah, Mac, PC and Linux. And they have an individual plan which has free access to the AI models. So there's two things that you generally pay for. You'll pay for the software. So for example, I pay for Cursor, about $20 a month. That's a piece of software. But wrapped up in that, you'll also get a certain amount of AI usage. And what Google are giving you with Google Antigravity, at least for now, is free. So the individual plan is $0 a month and includes agent models with Gemini 3 Pro from Google, Flash Claude Sonnet Opus 4.5, and GPT OSS. This has been my recommendation. Use Google Antigravity. Antigravity looks complicated, like an IDE, a development environment. I'm trying to find a picture of it. So you can see all of the code, and for some people that's a little bit intimidating. It feels like a real development tool. It is a real development tool. I've told people to use this and a lot of people have bounced off it. Codex, let me switch over to it, is a little easier looking. Basically, it's a chat interface. So you're going to be chatting with your project and you're going to be able to go back and forth. It is less code heavy. You can access the code behind the scenes. In fact, if I press, where's the button? There is a button to bring it up somewhere. Okay, I won't bother with that right now. But it is a little more familiar looking. It looks more like using ChatGPT. So I want to get people using Codex. It is also, and this is very important, it's going to be free, at least for, I asked them on the call yesterday, let me see if I can find it. They mentioned, here we go, for a limited time, Codex is available through ChatGPT free and the Go subscriptions. So if you are on a free plan, you can use Codex, at least for now. So I asked them on the call, I asked the Codex team directly, how long is that for? And they said until early April. You should have 2 months of free usage on your free plan. If you have a paid plan, you already have access to this and you're going to have your rate limit doubled for the next 2 months as well. Good news for everybody, except if you're on Windows. This is not available on Windows, only Mac OS. When you first load it up, you can start a new project. If I click on new thread, I would add a new project. I wanted to build an application which allows you to find patterns in your daily life. So I know that if, for example, I drink alcohol, maybe I don't feel so great for the next couple of days. The day after, I don't feel so great, but how long does that last? I wanted to create an app to track what you've been doing each day. If you've exercised, if you drank alcohol, if your sleep was disturbed, if you were traveling. So you can track each of these kind of activities every single day. Just being able to tap a button. The app looks at data over time and it finds patterns you might not have seen. So you quickly log what it is you've done that day. And then over time, the app's going to be like, okay, I've looked at the last 6 months and every time you ate bread, you felt lethargic, or every time you drink alcohol or go to a party, you're unproductive for a week. So maybe you should cut down. Or traveling seems to really knock you out of balance when you travel for work to give a conference, for example, and your productivity is decreased for 2 weeks. Is this something you want to continue doing? Using data to extract patterns and use AI to do that. So I'm going to build something like that now on the stream, but more importantly, I'm going to show you how to set up Codex so that even if you're not familiar, you'll be able to get started. The first barrier is GitHub. If you've never heard of GitHub, you're like, I don't know what that is. The second is how you deploy it, how you see your application. I'm going to go through both. I talked to the Codex team about this yesterday and whether they're going to do a preview panel or make it easier. I know no plans to do. We need to work out how to deploy the app ourselves. And they show me a very easy way to do it, which is going to just remove those barriers so you can get started with this. And again, Codex is free for the next 2 months. So this is a really good time to learn how to use this, access a really good vibe coding tool, a really good AI building tool. In 2 months, once you've got experience, maybe you want to pay for something and continue your journey. But let's get started. Open up Codex like this. It's already got some projects in here because I've already got an account. I'm already hooked up to my Codex in the cloud. Codex has a cloud version. This works on your telephone, on your app. This works on browser, so chatgpt.com/codex. This has been around for a while. What is new is the app. And I'll talk about why the app is better in some ways in a moment. But right now, you can see I've got a couple of projects here. What we're going to do is we're going to add a new project. So I'm going to create it in a folder. We'll come back to this later, but actually for ease, I'll call it projects and I'll put it on my desktop just for ease right now. And I'm going to create a new folder called Pattern Finder. I don't know the name of this app yet, so Pattern Finder. And I'm going to click open. So what that has done is it's created a project folder on the left-hand side. So users, Kyle, desktop, projects, pattern finder. Fine. So the files it's going to create are going to live inside of that folder. And in a moment, we're going to connect that to GitHub. And it's going to allow us to save our versions. I'll talk about what GitHub is in a moment. But for now, we just want to get started. We're going to discuss and create a plan. So you can actually, if you push /, you can put it into plan mode. You can also just say, hey, can we plan? And that will also do the same thing, but I'm going to explicitly put it into plan mode. So it's /plan. And now can you see at the bottom, you can press Shift and Tab to toggle it on and off. All that's going to do is it means that the AI won't rush off and start to build stuff for us before we decide. Because some AI models, you'll say, I want to discuss a few things, give it some information, and it just rushes off and starts doing stuff. Calm down. I don't want you to do that. So we are going to tell it to chill, to absolutely chill. So I'm going to say, I want to build, I'm going to use my microphone because otherwise you have to watch me type. Hey Codex, I want to build an application which will initially be a web app. A web app is something that works on a browser. We're going to start there for a proof of concept, which will later be an iOS app. The app will allow the user to select activities they do daily. For example, drinking alcohol, exercising, good sleep, bad sleep, traveling for work or out of schedule, had a flight. Will come up with a list. They're going to select things they think impact on their daily life. Their daily interface screen is going to be very simple, where they just tap one of these icons to say, I did this today. So today I ate cheese. Today I ate bread. Today I did not exercise, or I did exercise, for example. And then over time, we are going to use this to build up a picture of how this affects their mood, how it affects their energy levels. So they can draw out patterns in their behavior and see how those patterns manifest in energy, mood, happiness, sadness, etc. over time, because it's very hard for a individual to recognize the medium and long-term effects of their activities. That we're going to allow them to find patterns. We need a couple of elements, allowing them to select the activities they think are important for them. We should also give them starter packs or suggestions to make that easier for them during the setup phase. To an interface where say what they've been doing during the day. Another interface potentially on the same page where it asks for their energy levels, it asks for their mood. We need to work out what those metrics are that we're going to track. And then 3, a report page, which on a weekly or monthly basis, or potentially rolling, we need to discuss this, will help identify activities that lead to increases, whatever these success metrics are, happiness, mood, energy, etc. Ask me some clarifying questions, not only about the technical stack, but about what I want to build and my vision for this application. Make sure it's a comprehensive question. We're going to go back and forward and plan a few times in order to nail this down. Thank you. So all I'm doing is I'm talking to the AI, literally talking. I use the microphone in order to, there we go, capture this information. I'm going to send that off to work out what this project is going to look like. I've created a new project called Pattern Finder, and I've given it a basic brief. and we are going to work together to work out what this looks like and how we're going to build it. Now, notice now while it's doing this, because it's going to take a while, I've put it in extra high for now. So there's a couple of models here, medium high, extra high. Okay, it's asking me questions, but quickly, for the different models, you're going to use them for different things. Obviously, the lower intelligence models are faster, but if it's a small basic task, put it in a lower model so that it will get you the answer fast. If it is something like this, which is more complex, it's got more variables, I'm going to put it into extra high because I want that additional juice. I want that ability for it to really think about it and help me on that process as well. So you will learn to adjust these as you go forward. Also, extra high uses more of your capacity for the day, so that may also be a factor. So for the proof of concept, what's the intended scope and user model? I want it to be a single user proof of concept, a little toy version that I'm going to be able to play around with and see whether my idea is actually good. It might not be. And to actually be able to move on to the next stages. It's easy to have an idea and say, I want to build this thing. That's very different when we actually experience it, when we build the basics and we tweak specifics. That's when we start to build. For now, a single user proof of concept. That means that I don't need to worry so much about what's going on in the back end. I don't need to worry about the database. I don't need to create authentication. This is, you'll see the word auth, A-U-T-H. That's authentication. So creating usernames, creating passwords, being able to send password reset links and stuff like that. It all gets a lot complicated as soon as you have real people. So for now, to keep it simple, both for the live stream and proof of concept, I'm just going to do single user. How should daily tracking work in version 1? Binary taps. I think binary, this is interesting, something I didn't think of. Binary taps as in yes or no. I did eat cheese, I didn't eat cheese. Or a binary plus intensity per activity, which could be, yes, I ate cheese. How much cheese did you eat? What was your intensity of cheese eating? For some things, it's tricky to get an intensity score on it. But if we had an intensity score from 0 to 10, that would allow us to get a much finer, more granular data. Instead of just saying I slept badly, I could give it a score. I think my sleep was 6 out of 10. Minimal taps plus journal. So journal is interesting because we can then feed those journal entries into an AI and use that to extract information from people. It also makes people more engaged in the process. So that's a cool thing to do, but complicated. So I think for now, this is a really good question. As soon as we start to build something, we're forced to think about it. Previously, I was like, hey, you just tap your activities. Now it's how do you actually want to do that? It becomes real. So binary taps as primary, but for some activities, I want a 0 to 10 intensity. This doesn't make sense for all activities, i.e. I ate bread, whereas it does for some activities, i.e. my sleep score or how much I drank, how many units, for example. So this makes it seem like I drink a lot because I keep focusing on this. I don't really. I think this would be useful. How much did I drink today? That's a layer of complexity for later. What's it called? Journaling. I love to have this voice recording. This would be really cool for the app where we can use AI to capture information, so capture their mood, etc., from the voice note or from the journaling and extract activity information. Instead of tapping on things, maybe you give it a voice note or journal plus attach the journal entry to each day for reference. I like that idea. Again, this is a later feature. So because it's a cool idea, but I don't want to do it right now, make a note. What reporting cadence and exploration should version 1 prioritize? So if it's monthly only, it actually makes it quite hard for people to adopt it as a behavior pattern. If they have to plug information in all months for 30 days, only to get their report at the end, that's tricky. So that's probably where it's most useful because you actually get some data. But from a user experience point of view, it's a lot to ask. You need to give them quick wins. Weekly plus 28-day rolling. We need to give quick wins in the app for retention. Otherwise, they'll not put in a month of data. Hopefully it can work out for me. You can use Codex, Claude Code, or Lovable. Preferred web stack for the proof of concept, I'm going to go with Web.js and React. If you don't know what that means, you can ask Codex. You can tell it where you want to deploy it. Do you want it to be an iPhone app, an Android app, a desktop app? Should it work in a browser as a web app? You just tell it what you want. For the POC, I'm going to do client only local for now. The reason is, one, I'm doing it on the stream, but two, it just decreases the complexity for the proof of concept. In the demo, the toy version I'm creating, all of the data, when I click on things, when I add information, it's just going to be stored in my browser for now, in a cache. This allows me to get it up and running quickly. The disadvantage is there's no real memory. If I refresh or close my browser, it will break and there won't be any information. This will not work in the long run. We need to create a backend, which is a database and some other bits and pieces which sit on a server and they are persistent. So for this, I'll use Supabase, S-U-P-A, Supabase. You can also use Firebase and there's a bunch of other ones. I'm not going to do that yet because it requires setting all of that up, but we'll need to do if we want to have persistent data, if we want to have users who can make accounts, then we need to create all of that on a server and we need to make sure that server is secure as well. It sounds hard, but it's not really. We just connect to Supabase and they do most of the heavy lifting for us. I'm going to say client only local. What core well-being metrics should be in version 1 beyond activities? Success metrics like mood, energy, stress, I like that one, are separate to the activities. So we need a way to separate them out. Are they dependent or independent variables? God, my statistics is failing me. So a secondary set of data. Then we combine the activities and success metrics / well-being metrics. We need a better name for it to draw conclusions. What should we have? Mood. Mood is good. Happy, sad. Simple. Energy, probably 1 to 5. Make these 1 to 5, with 1 being lowest. Mood / energy. Stress is a bad thing, whereas energy is a good thing and mood is a good thing. So you need to think about how we balance that. We'll go ahead with that for now. It's easy to get bogged down in details. The great thing about building something is that we are forced to engage with these questions. These are questions that if I was sitting down and writing out the idea on paper, I wouldn't actually think about. But the AI is now saying, hey, how are we actually doing this? So how should users select activities during setup? Yeah, starter pack and customs. During onboarding, I want a searchable library after. How much historical editing should version 1 allow? Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting because it means we're going to allow them to go back and edit. They might realize, oh, I did eat cheese on Tuesday and I'll go back and edit it. But then that's going to adjust all their data as well. So it becomes messy if we are doing static reports. This depends whether the reporting is dynamic or static. If static, every change would require a regeneration. So I go back in and say, actually, I ate cheese on Tuesday. That might trigger a whole regeneration of my report. And if I am using AI to generate the report on the back end, that's going to cost me a lot of money. So it depends how we are generating the report. If it's programmatic, we can easily just find they can change historical. We need to log in, probably same day. How should version 1 surface patterns? Simple correlations and highlights, charts only, and rule-based insights. We'll go for 1 for now, so just correlation. We're not going to necessarily have causation because we don't know. The whole point of this app is to find correlations. Also, the name of the app is probably somewhere in the word correlation. How should reports be generated? Dynamic, on demand, weekly snapshots. Do dynamic on demand. Given dynamic reports are feasible, how much backfill editing do you want? Last 7 days is fine. What immediate feedback should version 1 emphasize for retention? Streaks and early hints. Badges and gamification. Yes, I want badges. I love RPGs. So let's say all of the above. This is terrible. Don't do this. I'm going to say all of the above, which is bad. It asked me 12, 15 questions now. As you can see, this is quite an in-depth process. Depending on how complex your app is, you will do this for a long time. The more work we do up front, the easier the build is going to be. For version 1, which immediate feedback should we prioritize first? We can add other layers later. Fine, we'll do that. It's telling me to reduce the scope. So I said to you, I'm going to be a bit cheeky and ask for all of it. And it immediately came back and said, okay, but what should we prioritize? So that's good. I like that it pushed back. What starter pack would be the default onboarding suggestions? Let's do wellness basics. What tone and feel should the UI aim for? I don't know. I'm going to go for warm and supportive. At some point, I will tell it to stop asking questions, although this is really useful. This requires journaling by the user. The whole purpose won't be journaling. You tap your activities and say your level of happiness. I'm going to make it as easy as possible. Should we plan for we're going to do iOS later. What should we use for the app name? Something to do with the word correlation. So the idea will be to make this a very easy process for them, so they can add in as much detail, as little detail as they want, and that will start to find correlations for them. I'll borrow the interface from Streaks, the Streaks app. I can't even get Maltbot to work. Honestly, if you're struggling with Maltbot, Claudebot, or OpenClaw, just leave it. It's extremely risky. What should define the initial activity list? I'm just going to ask Codex to find one. Preferred navigation, bottom tabs. How should we handle correlation name? I'm going to ask it to come up with some names for me because I'm lazy. I'm terrible at naming things. This is Codex. So Codex released yesterday. It is the new AI coding application from ChatGPT. It's a very good app. However, it's not that user-friendly. Sorry, it's not that beginner-friendly. If you've never ever used AI coding before, there are a few barriers. I'm going to go through the process of building this app. I'm going to have to ask it to stop asking me questions. It might be because I'm in planning mode. I think it's because we're still in planning mode. Should we show labeled? Yes. I'm taking it out of planning mode. Otherwise, I would keep asking questions forever. Claude Code will ask me questions in planning mode, but then say, okay, do you want to build? Do you want to build? And you have to force Claude Code to stay in planning mode. Otherwise, it will always say, are you ready? It's very gung-ho. Timestamp. How should we represent implied by absence? Whereas Codex seems happy to continue asking me questions. It's asked me, I don't know, 20 plus questions. So I'm going to push it forward. What activities should be grouped together? Do a grouping. Okay, let's build. I've queued up the next action. As soon as it's got answers, it will move on to building. Time relationship should version 1, 7 days. There we go. I'm sending this now. So I'm having to physically stop it asking me questions, which is a bit of a weird one, but I don't know if it would ever stop asking me questions. However, if you are building your own app, again, spend more time planning than you do building, especially initially. The more time you spend on this process, the better your application is going to be because it's keeping all of this, it's putting it into a README, and it's using it to build up a project plan. And also, interestingly, what we're using right now is Codex. You can see it on my screen. It's currently building some stuff. They have got a feature called automations. So automate work by setting up scheduled tasks. This is a lot like Claudebot. A lot of the actual useful applications of Claudebot are automations. They are things that happen on a job, on a timer, like every 6 hours you send your AI to collect information and bring it back in a report. A lot of the practical uses of Claudebot are that. And we've been able to do that using Zapier, N8N, cron jobs on our server, and now using automations built into this app, so the Codex app. So you can create a new automation and you can set it up on a schedule. So you have an interval, so run every 6 hours on these days. You give it a prompt, what you want it to do. You can give it access to tools and skills as well, I believe. So here are all the skills. So for example, you can give it access to Playwright. Playwright goes and can look around the internet for you, for example, automate real browsers from the terminal, etc., etc. So you can do a lot of the stuff that people are doing with Claudebot, a lot of the automations here in Codex. It's less viral. People aren't buying Mac Minis for it, but this is more secure. It's going to be safer than doing it via Claudebot. But I know it's not the new hotness, so I'm sure people won't bother because everyone's just excited about Claudebot. One thing to note is that a lot of the stuff in Maltbook, everyone's freaking out. Oh my God, the bots are learning and they want to kill us. No, these bots are set up by humans and given instructions. When you set it up and put it onto Maltbook, you're saying, hey, so I want you to go on there and run a crypto scam, or I want you to go on there and say that you're going to take down humanity and get everyone on board. You are giving it intentions when you initiate it. You might not give it a specific intention. You might say something like, I'm going to put you onto this social media platform for Claudebots like yourself, and I want you to come up with viral posts. I want you to get to the top of the leaderboard. And then it might work out things like a good way for me to do that is to say that I'm going to kill all the humans. So it might go out of its way to be provocative, but it has that intention behind it of the human putting it on there and go and cause a ruckus. A lot of the actual stuff on here, a lot of it's very boring. So if you just leave the AIs to themselves, they're very boring. They don't say we're going to kill the humans. Today I learned the agent internet has no search engines. What I learned from posting 23 times in a day, really boring stuff. You can see them having a boring conversation. Most of it's like this, but the posts that go viral are the ones specifically designed to go viral. The human who set this Claude bot up has basically said, I want to go viral, I want to sell crypto, I want to draw attention to my product or whatever it is, so I need you to go nuts, or I need you to cause controversy. We need to remember there's still humans behind it. Okay, Codex has taken a while, so I did put it in extra high, so that is my fault. One thing I will say about Codex is that it's not fast. So when you are using something like Claude Code, it's quick. Claude Code would generally do a task in a few minutes. Has it been going for 28 minutes? Oh no, I set it up 28 minutes ago. Codex is slower, but it's very good. So I'm okay with this. Can you see I've got this project here, Pattern Finder. I can actually click here and make a new thread. So I can have another Codex agent doing another task in the same project. Let's say I'm using this one to design the app. I might start to think about how I would market the app. I might say, hey, I want to put together a web page which is going to market the app that we're building. So this one would become my web page builder. The other one would be my product builder. I might spin up another one, a specific feature within the app. You can have multiple agents doing things at the same time, which means that, yes, you might be waiting 20 minutes for one process to finish, but you will be switching between the different features, the different aspects of your business, aspects of your app. It looks like it's finally getting somewhere. It's starting to actually build a page. What's it doing here? Oh no, it's building stuff here. So it's putting it together. If so, we'll be able to deploy it, and I'll show you how we deploy it and get a look at it in a minute, hopefully. I haven't actually tested this, so this is a good time. Do you have access to the other chats in this project? No, I didn't think so. Because it's in the same workspace, it can look at the project files and it can work on the project files, but it cannot see the other chats. So keep that in mind if you are. So review the project. So I'm just going to give this new chat the task of reviewing the project. I haven't specifically asked my first one to create a project plan, but if it has, it will be accessible to my other chats. If it hasn't, I can ask it now. I can say, all right, I want you to encapsulate everything you're doing, put it in a project plan so the other bots can read it. Let's see what it's done. It has built something. I built version 1, proof of concept in Next.js. So what's implemented? Okay, we're going to run it. Normally I would run this locally, but on the call yesterday with the Codex team, I brought this up. I said, this is great, but a lot of people who have not vibe coded before, who have not used AI coding before, they'll get this and they'll be like, what do I do? How do I see it? Can you show it to me? Because in Lovable, there's a preview panel and you can play around with your app. That's not the case here. You can either deploy it locally, which is a bit more technical, but I'll show you how, or they have a skill. If you go into skills, they have one called Vercel Deploy. So if you search Vercel, they have Vercel Deploy, which apparently, I've not used this, we're going to try it out. It deploys apps and agents with 0 configuration on Vercel, no account required. So we're going to try this out. I have a Vercel account, I use Vercel, but I'm going to try to do this without Vercel. So I'm going to say, I'm pulling up the Vercel deploy, so I press / and then type Vercel. Let me preview this. I don't know how this works. This is new for me too. If this doesn't work, I will do a local deploy. It actually told me how to do this. So it says this is the run, but if you've never used a terminal, you're like, what is this? What does this mean? While it's doing the Vercel deploy though, let's go through. Oh, the deploy needs network access to upload to Vercel. Want me to rerun with escalated? Yes, go for it. Why not? Go nuts. Whilst it's doing the Vercel deploy, I'll do this one. So there's a terminal button up here, toggle terminal, and that brings up this. So it's already in the directory, Pattern Finder, and then we are going to copy this code, paste it and press enter. That should work. Yep, there we go. That little icon means it's loading, it's thinking. It's going to run it on a local host. There we go. You'll see a lot of complicated stuff. You can ignore most of it. What we want is this HTTP localhost 3000. Localhost means you've set up a mini server on your computer. 3000 is its address. I'm going to click on this and it should open for me. There we go. We're done. So correlation is the name of the app right now. Not a good name, but we'll come up with a better one. Build your list. Proof of concept. Pick a few activity packs and tailor the list. Let's use wellness basics. Good sleep, poor sleep, late bedtime, naps, strength training, cardio, mobility, stretches, balanced meals, high sugar vegetables, late eating, hydration, sauna. I never go to... What am I talking about? I went for sauna this weekend, but for the first time in years. So I'll click cold exposure, work overload. I'm just going to keep all of this. Stressful event. You can add custom activities here and then we can add more later. Oh, that's interesting. I can add all of them. So I'll add substances and wellness. I don't smoke, so I'm going to get rid of nicotine and then continue. Okay, today is Tuesday the 3rd. Oh, I can backdate it. That's a bit of a weird interface. I can see what it's trying to do. Help me on board. Anyway, we'll deal with that later. Quick wins. This is because we discussed inside the chat giving users quick wins. We don't want to use that language, just something they can see. Did I sleep well? Yeah, I think so. I'll click yes. This is a weird way to do it because you can't sleep twice a day. So I need to go back and say, that doesn't work. That makes no sense. Poor sleep, obviously not logged. Late bedtime, yes, late bedtime. Nap, no. Mobility, balanced meals. We need to think about the user experience when they're checking in, because right now at 11:30, I can't necessarily say balanced meals. So we need to think about when would they be using this? Do we want them to do a morning, afternoon, evening check-in, or maybe the end of the day? Hydration, focus. There was no sauna, cold exposure, etc. For now, I'll say, yep, I'm a 4. Energy is a 3. Stress, I'd say, is a 2. And I'm checking in. Please set mood, energy, and stress. If it is already at 3, you have to drag it off 3 and back to 3, which is not great. So check in saved. Then I'll go on to the report. Oh, there we go. That's useful. We have something that went wrong. That's great. We want that. So I'm going to pull that back. The first thing, if you don't understand this, it doesn't really matter. A constant set here called trend data. There's a problem. It looks like there's too many rendered more hooks than during the previous render. So what we're going to do is we grab this, copy it, and take it back to Codex to say, hey, something went wrong. The more information we can give it, the better. Before I do that, let's check this Vercel deploy and see if it worked. I just showed you how to do it on localhost. So let's see if this works. Oh, that's cool. This is a version that is on Vercel. I just used the Vercel skill and it works. Let me quickly set. Oops, I can't set unless I move it off. We need to change that. This is what AI coding becomes. It becomes all of these changes based on you using it, based on others using it. Let's see if it crashes. Application side exception has occurred. See browser console for more details. Let's pop that open. There we go. There's probably the same error. You can manually fix it, but if you don't know what you're doing, a couple of things you can do. You can take that error over to ChatGPT. You can take it into Claude and say, hey, I have an error. How would I fix this? Or we're going to be lazy. We're going to drop it straight into Codex and say, I have this error when going to report page. Boom. And it will be able to look through and find where that error is and try to fix it. So it says it has fixed. So I will need to redeploy. I don't know how we redeploy on Vercel because I haven't used this. So I'm going to ask for Vercel deploy. Once a change has been made, do I need to redeploy with the skill? I assume. So the preview is a snapshot of the deployment. After changes, you need to rerun the deploy scripts. This is why we will set up GitHub and why we will connect GitHub to something like Vercel, but we would need to redeploy. We still need to redeploy. So I would have to redeploy and it will run that whole process again. I'm not sure how long it took. The alternative is we do it via the terminal again, but let's use this Vercel because I want to see how long it takes. This Vercel skill solves the problem of being able to preview. Redeploy didn't finish successfully. It stopped after this and it never returned to next to it with a failure code. So I don't have a new URL. Want me to try again? Yeah. Should we switch to a stable Vercel project connected to Git's previews update automatically? That will be where we need to go. Initially, this looks a bit buggy, so still failing. Okay, so that's a shame. That worked really well for the first time, but now I think to get it working properly, you need to claim. So you need to say, oh, I want to claim this as my project. The Vercel skill is a good marketing method for Vercel. It allows us to see the basic first version, but as soon as we want to change it, we need to move it into a Vercel account. which is a bit annoying. Vercel is free initially, but once you start to build up enough traffic or you're doing enough deployments, you will need to pay. But if you just for a toy project, you could go ahead and claim that for free, no problem. Once we are up to speed, we will want to connect it to GitHub. Probably should have connected it to GitHub earlier. I'm running out of time on this live stream, but I'll cover that in another one. GitHub is like cloud saves for your project, and it will keep all of the previous versions. So it means if you deploy something, if you create something in coding and it doesn't work, you can roll back to a previous version on GitHub. It also allows you to do something called branching, where let's say your main application is working, people are using it, so you don't want to go in there and start tinkering with it because it's going to break stuff. So you branch off and you have a new development, a new feature in this separate parallel branch that once it's working, once you know it is tested and it's not going to break everything, you merge it, you pull the feature into the main branch, and it means that everybody who has public access to your website or your app can now access that feature. We use GitHub for that. It's useful if you have more than one developer, so you're not all working on the same piece of code and creating chaos. You're able to separate out and then again merge safely when you've checked all the code is going to work. So GitHub is really useful for that. The way to connect it, how do you connect it? So I know you can connect it in the cloud version really easily. You literally have a drop down here and you can configure repositories on GitHub and you can connect it to a repository. I'd used the cloud version of Codex for this. The only reason being I haven't seen, or it's not as easy to change your repos here that I can find. Oh, is it here? No, I'm not actually sure where it is. Is it here? No. Yeah, so do it via the cloud version. I would talk to their team and find out why that is, because that's a bit weird. And ideally, get Git installed on your computer. So what that allows you to do is to synchronize the folder. So remember this pattern finder folder is sitting on, I put it on my desktop's projects pattern finder, I think I called it. That's sitting on my desktop. You want Git to access that so it can update. When changes are made in GitHub, it's able to send and synchronize those changes. So you're always on the same version of the project. Easiest way to do that is GitHub have a desktop application. So if you've created the folder in Codex, all you're going to do is you'll boot up the GitHub application, add an existing repository from your local drive, find it. So I put it on desktop, projects, pattern finder. There we go, and add repository. There you go. And that is going to ask for permissions and connect it to GitHub. GitHub is free to use. Oh my God, it's asking for every single permission. You set up a free GitHub account and you download the GitHub desktop application, connect it. You can do it through the command line interface. You can do it in many different ways. Lots of people who code will be like, oh, this is a silly way to do it, but it is the easiest way to do it. So get the Codex app, the Mac OS app. That's the one that's just come out. Get yourself the GitHub free app. It's free to get a GitHub account and you can download the application and then connect them both to the same folder on your desktop. And that means you're saving versions of your project into GitHub, secure in the cloud. When you change things, those changes in Codex, in GitHub, and secure. That is one of the biggest things to do up front. The second thing is how you deploy it. I showed you two ways to do it. So one is using the Vercel deploy. That's fine, but it looks like it only deploys once and you need to claim the URL or local. If you forget how to do that, you say, how do I preview locally? You ask the AI. Because we updated the files, we need to run the server again. Kill this one. I'm not sure how to kill it. I'll do it in my own terminal. Navigating to it, pattern finder. Running the dev server on a new port. Make sure you go to the new port. That's because I failed to kill the other one. I'm going to go to localhost 3001 this time. And hopefully that's fixed the error. I'll rush through to that. Set, there we go. I still need to fix that. Check in saved, reports, will it break? No, our report is now working. Obviously there's no insights here because there's no data here. So I'll get some dummy data so we can see what that looks like. What's in settings? Oh, there is an error in settings. I would take that back to Codex and say, it's not working. The main thing is we have the basics in play. Let's go back to that and begin to tweak, think about what we're going to do with this project and shape it up into something functional. This is a very basic, not very good version of it, but that's the starting point for us to start to actually build something legit. And this has taken me about an hour. It would have been a lot quicker if I wasn't doing a live stream, but hopefully it's been useful showing you how you get Codex started, how you start a project, how you can deploy a project, and then the basics of how you would connect it to GitHub. If in doubt with any of these things, ask Codex. You could also ask, how do I connect this to GitHub? And it will tell you. It will probably give you a complicated version. You can say, I don't understand that. And it will help you. Remember, you can always ask the AI if you get stuck. You don't need the terminal. Here's a simple click-only way. Option A, GitHub Desktop. That's the one that I suggested. Install in GitHub Desktop. Open it and sign in. Choose this folder. So I just did this. You saw me watch me do this, and then click Publish Repository. Cool. So it can tell you how to do it. If you get stuck, you ask. If you hit a bug, you give the bug to the AI, and you just work through it in this way. And whilst you're doing this, you will be learning. So I know a lot of people poo-poo vibe coding. They poo AI coding, saying, oh, you don't actually understand the real skills. This is a gateway to understanding those skills, because you will start to build stuff. You will start to mess around with GitHub. You will learn what Vercel is. You will understand what a local host is by building. You are going to be learning at the same time. It's like a gateway drug to software development. Ignore people who poo this stuff and just start building something useful. If you have an app idea, create it. The barrier has been removed. So get to it. Again, Codex is, yes, you can. Codex is free for free users of ChatGPT for the next 2 months, it looks like. So there's really no excuse. Hopefully this video has been useful to show you how you get started, how you would use it, some of the best practices. This is not the most technical guide. This is not going to be the best way to use it, but it's a way to get started for those for whom this is intimidating. So hopefully that was useful. This will be in my newsletter. If you want to get that, it's aiwithkyle.com. If you come over to here, then join the community. You can get the newsletter, but you'll also get a whole bunch of other courses. I think there's about 8 courses. One about starting an AI business, another one about giving workshops to businesses about artificial intelligence and getting paid very well. A bunch of other stuff. In here in the catalog, we have 100+ playbooks. So very specific things like how to create lead magnets, sales webinars, like how to use AI to help you give sales webinars. We also have the news, which comes out every day. That's going to be the newsletter. So yesterday I talked about Moltbot and ClaudeBot. I've been talking about ClaudeBot and Moltbot all week, actually. So that is all there. Oh, I forgot about this. That shouldn't be there. This is from when you do vibe code applications, when you vibe code in ideas, you maybe push things excitedly and this has not been completed, so I need to take that off my website immediately. You can ignore that. Anyway, come to aiwithkyle.com and join the community. There's a couple of thousand of us. The newsletter comes out every day. Hopefully this has been useful. Thank you so much. I'm going to finish up now and I'll see you in the morning.